Auntie was sitting in front of me crying, and I looked worriedly from her to my mother. At first, Amma had refused. Look, Rubina, how can I just send my daughter to your house like that? She's a young girl and her father won't agree. But as Auntie's tears kept flowing, Amma's heart softened. She finally said, All right, I'll talk to her father. If he agrees, then I'll send her with you. Hearing Amma's words, anger boiled inside me. I was absolutely not willing to go. In fact, Auntie had come to take me along with her because the doctor had advised her 3 months of complete bed rest. She wanted me to stay at her house like a maid. At least that's how it felt to me. My exams were just around the corner, and I didn't want to go live at Auntie's house at all. There wouldn't even be a proper environment for me to study there. So I had tried to signal Amma to refuse. Amma, for a while, tried to politely turn down the request, but Auntie kept sobbing, pleading, You're my only sister. If you can't help me in my time of need, then who will? After our parents passed away, no brother even looks our way. If a sister won't stand by her sister, then what's the point of living? Auntie cried like a child, emotionally blackmailing Amma. Honestly, I felt like laughing and getting angry at the same time. Finally, Amma managed to calm her down. I prepared a glass of sherbet and brought it for Auntie. Only then did her sobs subside. She wiped her face with her dupatta and continued to look pleadingly at Amma. Poor Amma was trapped. Right in front of me, she called my father and explained the whole situation. Father said, It's a difficult time. Refusing wouldn't be right. Tell Rubina to take our princess with her for a few days, but they should arrange for a maid soon after. Father was concerned about my studies, of course, and also about my age. I was nearly 16, and it didn't seem right to send me to stay under the same roof as Uncle. After speaking with Father, Amma turned to me. Daughter, pack a few necessary things. Go with your auntie. As soon as she arranges for a helper, you'll be brought back. Amma's tone was almost pleading because she could see the fire in my eyes. I glanced at Auntie, whose face now wore a faint, victorious smile as she kissed Amma's hands in gratitude. Frustrated, I stomped back to my room. A few moments later, Amma followed me. Listen, princess, she said softly. My younger sister is in a difficult situation. She finally conceived after so many years. If something unfortunate happens, neither she nor I would be able to forgive ourselves. It's a huge blessing after so long. God answered her prayers at last. I want you to take care of her for a few days. After all, she's your auntie. When you were little, didn't she cradle you in her arms? Amma, too, was emotionally blackmailing me now. Amma, I understand all that, I said, but Auntie isn't living alone. Uncle lives there too, and you know how he is. He neither talks much nor smiles. He just stares at people in that strange way of his. Won't it feel awkward for me? Hearing this, Amma held her head in her hands. Why is he? Your uncle leaves for work early, she said. You'll finish all the chores before he comes back. Then you can sit in your room and study. After all, your exams are close, yeah? You have the perfect excuse. I've already told Rubina that she must arrange for a maid soon, Amma said. Right now, it's not easy to find help immediately. In a few days, she'll ask around in the neighborhood and find someone. Then I'll come myself to bring you back. Don't worry, dear. After all, only our own people come to our aid when needed. With that, Amma ended the conversation. She quickly packed a few of my clothes into a bag herself. Auntie, who lived in a far-off part of the city, gathered me along and we sat in a taxi together. She held my hand affectionately and said, Listen, princess, there's not much work to do. I just get scared being alone in the house. If you stay with me for a few days, it will keep my heart at peace. She spoke with such love that I pulled myself together and replied softly, Don't worry, Auntie. Everything will be fine. The truth was, Auntie had been married for 15 years, and it was only in this 15th year that she had finally conceived, after endless prayers and hopes. All these years, her lap had remained empty, and no good news had ever come. That's why she was so terribly afraid now. The doctors had also warned that conceiving after so many years, and at her age, could easily lead to complications. She needed complete bed rest. And at that moment, it seemed only I was available for her. After the death of Nana and Nani, my uncle had cut off ties with his sisters. Only Auntie and Amma had kept some connection alive. If Amma had also refused, where would Auntie have turned? Her in-laws had long since distanced themselves. She lived alone with her husband, completely isolated. After an hour-long journey, we finally reached Auntie's home. She put my things into the room right next to hers and said, "Do whatever you're able to. Whatever you can't manage, leave it. I'll slowly handle it. But being alone has become impossible for me now. Your uncle comes home around 9 at night. After serving him dinner, you can either go to sleep or study. I won't put any restrictions on you. And if there's anything you'd like to eat, you can order it. Whatever you want, just ask." As she spoke, she placed 2,000 rupees in my hand. I stared at the money in surprise and said, "Auntie, there's no need for this. I'll eat whatever is cooked. I don't need anything special." I felt deeply embarrassed, as if I had been throwing tantrums about coming here, while Auntie was going out of her way to make me feel at home. "No, princess," she said warmly. "I want you to stay here with complete happiness. The doctor has advised 3 months of rest, but if you feel comfortable here, I'll keep you until the baby is born." Tears shimmered in her eyes as she spoke. After Amma and Abba passed away, I lived a very difficult life. Then after marriage, the pain of not having children made me endure endless taunts. Now after all these years, when God has finally placed this blessing in my lap, I don't want to risk it for anything. She paused, wiping her tears. I don't know why, but this fear never leaves my heart, sigh, that something might happen to my child. Suddenly, she broke down crying. Seeing her like that, my heart ached. I quickly hugged her tightly and said, "Auntie, please, for God's sake, don't cry. Nothing will happen. I'll stay with you. I'll take care of you and the house, too. You won't feel lonely at all." I kissed her cheeks and pulled her closer to my chest. After all, my auntie had truly loved me dearly since my childhood, and perhaps now it was my time to return that love. I sat her down carefully and picked up a broom to start cleaning the house. Meanwhile, Auntie began making calls to the neighbors, trying to arrange for a maid. Hearing her efforts gave my heart some peace. The hope that once a maid was found, I could return home. But little did I know, my stay here was going to be much longer than I had imagined, After making a few calls, Auntie returned looking embarrassed. Nowhere could I find a maid," she said, her voice heavy with disappointment. "From tomorrow, I'll do the sweeping myself," Auntie said gently. "You just help me a little with the cooking." Hearing her words, I quickly responded, "Auntie, it's no big deal. I can sweep. I do it at home, too. I can also cook. Please don't worry." I helped Auntie lie down on her cot, and right there in front of her, I began cleaning. I washed the whole courtyard, and in doing so, ended up soaking my clothes completely. It seemed like Auntie hadn't had a proper cleaning done in a long time. So, while scrubbing and rinsing, I made quite a mess of myself. Laughing, I turned toward Auntie and said, "Look at me, Auntie. I'm completely drenched." It was a hot summer evening, and honestly, getting wet like this was a pure joy. Deliberately, I picked up the hose and poured water all over my head. Seeing my childishness, Auntie burst out laughing loudly, and I too sat down in the middle of the wet courtyard, splashing water around like a little child. Our house back home didn't have an open courtyard, so I rarely got chances like this. Today, I finally got the opportunity and I made the most of it. I called out to Auntie, "See, I'm having so much fun. Amma never lets me do anything like this. Even now, she still scolds me like I'm a little girl, even though I'm all grown up." I stood up laughing and said, "Look, Auntie, I'm almost your height now. Soon suitors will start coming for me too." I didn't even realize someone had entered through the door. Suddenly, Auntie sat upright, looking startled. I turned around quickly but saw it was Uncle, who had just returned from work. He saw me, drenched, without my dupatta, broom in hand, standing in the middle of the courtyard, and not only that. I had casually joked about marriage proposals just moments before. Shame washed over me in a wave. As soon as I gathered my senses, I quickly greeted Uncle with a salam and rushed toward the room to fetch my dupatta. Meanwhile, Uncle and Auntie started chatting. I overheard Auntie saying playfully, "Now that our princess is here, you don't have to worry about me anymore. Today you've come home early, but from tomorrow you can return at your regular time." Uncle replied, "It's good you brought her. Now I truly don't need to worry about you." I'm seeing our princess after a long time. She's really grown up. She's quite tall and elegant now. Hearing Uncle's words made Auntie laugh warmly. Girls grow up so quickly you hardly even realize it. Oh. Soon she too will get married and move to her own home, Auntie said affectionately. Their conversation made my face blush with embarrassment. But Uncle's comment unsettled me. It felt like he had assessed me too closely with his eyes, a discomfort I couldn't shake. Later, after retrieving my dupatta, I came out with my gaze lowered, heading straight to the kitchen. I changed into dry clothes and then set Uncle's dinner on the table. I had already cooked before starting the cleaning, so the meal was ready. Auntie and I had eaten earlier, but Uncle insisted, "Sit down, princess, have dinner with me." I politely refused and instead picked up the wiper and started wiping the courtyard floor. Working in front of Uncle made me feel extremely self-conscious. But I had draped my dupatta securely, covering myself properly. It felt like, while eating, Uncle kept glancing at me from time to time as he sat on the cot. Since Auntie needed rest, she had gone to her room to lie down. I somehow managed to finish wiping the courtyard and was about to head to my room when Uncle called out, "Come here, princess. Sit with me." Reluctantly, I walked over and sat down in front of him. "Did you cook the food?" he asked in surprise. I quickly nodded. "Wow, there's real magic in your hands. This is the first time I'm eating food cooked by you." Uncle smiled, pulled a 500 rupee note from his pocket and extended it toward me. "Here, your reward." I immediately shook my head. Auntie had already given me 2,000 rupees earlier. How could I take more from Uncle? But he insisted. "Take it. You worked so hard. Cooking, cleaning, scrubbing the whole courtyard. The house hasn't looked this bright in a long time. Since your auntie became pregnant, I haven't let her do much, so take it. You deserve it." As I hesitated and finally reached out to accept the money, I felt as though Uncle intentionally brushed my hand while handing me the note. A shiver ran through my entire body. I quickly pulled my hand back in shock, but Uncle remained completely normal. The same faint smile on his face, a smile I was seeing for the first time, since I'd only ever known him to wear a strict, harsh expression. I clutched the note tightly in my fist and stood up to leave, but Uncle gently called out again, "Princess." I turned to look at him. His gaze slowly swept from my head to my toes. "You've really grown up," he said, and truly the food was delicious. There was something in his tone, something that made my spine tingle uncomfortably. Without saying a word, I rushed to my room, closed the door, and sat there, breathing heavily. I tried to distract myself by opening my books, but my mind kept drifting back to Uncle. Strange thoughts kept circling in my head. The way his eyes had pierced through me, it gave me no peace. I sat with my books open, pretending to study, but I couldn't focus at all. Eventually, I put the books aside and lay down. I made sure the door was properly locked, which gave me a bit of comfort, and soon, wrapped in my sheet, I drifted into a deep sleep. The next morning, I woke up to Auntie's voice. She seemed to be talking to someone. I glanced at the clock. It was 8 a.m. The thought immediately struck me. Uncle must be getting ready for work. Breakfast needs to be prepared. Auntie might be struggling in the kitchen. Worried, I quickly grabbed my dupatta and hurried outside. Uncle was sitting on the cot, while Auntie was indeed in the kitchen, talking to him from there. Uncle's eyes fell on me again, studying me intently. I ignored his gaze and went straight into the kitchen. "Auntie, you should have woken me up. Why are you working? Please go rest. I'll handle the breakfast." I gently took the rolling pin from her hands. Smiling and blessing me, Auntie said, "Princess, I can't even stand straight anymore. If you're preparing breakfast for Uncle, I'll just go and lie down comfortably." I nodded. Auntie left for her room and I started preparing breakfast, but strangely, my hands were trembling as I arranged the tray. Last night's incident, Uncle's hand brushing mine, kept flashing before my eyes. I shook my head firmly, trying to convince myself it had just been my imagination. Taking a deep breath, I carried the breakfast tray toward Uncle. As I placed the tray down, Uncle grabbed my hand and gently pulled me to sit beside him. "You had dinner last night, but now you'll have breakfast with me too," he said firmly, almost as if it were an order. I had no choice but to sit beside him. I forced myself to eat a couple of bites, but the food tasted like sand. Throughout breakfast, Uncle kept watching me, his eyes never wavering. I felt so nervous that I kept adjusting my dupatta again and again, desperately trying to shield myself. I was growing increasingly fearful of Uncle's gaze. Then suddenly, Uncle said, "If you want anything, tell me now. I'll bring it for you when I return from work." He was looking at me with questioning eyes. I quickly shook my head. "No, I don't need anything." He chuckled and said, "The Golgappas, spicy street snacks from here, are quite famous. Your aunt was also craving them. I'll bring some for both of you on my way back." Saying this, he left for work, and I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I closed the main door, cleaned the whole house, cooked food, gave Auntie her breakfast and medicine. Her back pain had gotten worse, so she remained in her room the whole day. Meanwhile, I kept working. After finishing the chores, I studied for a while, and before I knew it, evening had fallen. Around 8 p.m., Uncle returned home carrying bags of Golgappas. Auntie's health had worsened. She refused to eat even the Golgappas. All day, she had suffered terribly from back pain. Even after taking her medication, she found no relief. Now she lay with her eyes closed, trying to sleep. So, reluctantly, I carried the plates of Golgappas to the courtyard and sat on the cot in front of Uncle. Uncle, smiling, picked up a Golgappa and brought it toward my mouth. Embarrassed, I tried to take it from his hand, but he insisted and stuffed it directly into my mouth. After that, he kept feeding me Golgappas one after another, despite my attempts to refuse. Then he laughed and said, "If we had ever been blessed with a child, they would have been your age by now. Your aunt kept me waiting for so many years. And now, finally, joy is coming to our home." There was a deep, strange smile on his face. Hearing his words, I stayed silent. But as soon as I finished, I rushed to my room and locked the door. I really was scared. Uncle's stares were enough to terrify me. Still, that night passed somehow. Until deep into the night, someone started knocking loudly on my door. Frightened, I asked, "Who is it?" Uncle's voice came, "Your aunt's condition has worsened. I'm taking her to the hospital. You'll be alone at home, so take care." Hearing this, I hurriedly opened the door. Indeed, Aunt looked very unwell, writhing in pain. Uncle quickly took her and left for the hospital. I locked the door behind them and wandered around the house anxiously for a long time, unable to sleep. Eventually, exhausted, I lay down in my room. Since I was the only one left in the house, I didn't bother locking my bedroom door, just closed it gently. I drifted into a deep sleep, but when I woke up, I screamed. Because I was no longer alone in the room. Uncle was there, sitting near my feet. I immediately sat up, frightened, and hastily covered myself with the nearby dupatta, staring at him. His head was bowed and his eyes were filled with tears. "Uncle, what happened? Is everything all right?" My voice trembled with fear, 100 thoughts about Aunt flashing through my mind. Uncle shook his head silently. When he finally looked up at me, tears were flowing freely down his face. Then, without warning, he grabbed my feet and broke down crying bitterly. I was completely terrified. Before I could even react, he began sobbing. "Forgive me, princess, forgive me. I made a terrible mistake. I committed a sin. Please forgive me." He was clutching my feet, crying uncontrollably, and I sat there, frozen in shock and confusion. "Uncle, what are you saying? What happened? How's Auntie? Where is she?" I asked anxiously. Uncle tried to control his sobs and replied, "Your aunt's condition isn't good. The doctors say she will have to stay in the hospital for a few days. Even saving the baby seems difficult now. I feel like this is all a punishment for my sins. That's why I want to apologize to you today. I didn't understand what your aunt said. What happened? What are you apologizing for?" The aunt started crying and then said while crying that when you were very young, your aunt used to bring you to our house with great love again and again. But when your aunt was busy with work, I would force you to sit on my lap and do wrong things to you. At that time, you were a 4-year-old little girl who probably didn't understand all these things. But I was a wise man and knew that what I was doing was wrong and sinful. But despite this, I forced you many times, made you sit on my lap, touched your body, and looked at you with dirty eyes. If I had had the chance, I would have even abused you. But thank God I didn't get such a chance. Then your parents took you and shifted far away from our house, from where your ego in our house diminished. As time passed, my conscience started to make me restless. I was so ashamed that I avoided looking at you in front of you. I would have turned my back on you. I thought that the reason I had no children was my malice. I asked God for forgiveness day and night. Many years passed like this, then my wife became pregnant. But God's will was that He brought you again to remove His loneliness. And I started remembering everything I had done in the past. I thought that I would treat you well and erase my sins. But I think that the rights of the people are not forgiven until we apologize to the person we had wronged. I did a great injustice to you. Taking advantage of your ignorance, I repeatedly troubled you. I touched you and looked at you with a dirty look. That's why I want to apologize to you today. Maybe that's why my children will be